Well, I hadn't reviewed the first two Conjuring films, but I decided to review the new one. Because the devil made me review it. What up, guys? Bobo here with BrassReel Brothers. Thanks for coming back for some more popcorn. Well, it's time for another installment of Year of the Max. It's Friday, June 4th. And that means The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It come out. Or as everybody's gonna probably call it, The Conjuring 3. So I have to admit, when The Conjuring first came out back in 2013, a lot of my friends were like, man, you gotta see this movie. It's the scariest movie I've ever seen. All this hype and uproar was happening about the movie. So when I finally saw it, I was just like, I don't know if it's that good. Well, it's because I think I was tainted by all the hype. Upon rewatching all of them, including the Annabelle movies and The Nun yesterday, I take back my stance on the Conjuring movies. Now, I don't think they're all that scary. I think they're all kind of like horror movie light, if that makes any sense. I think it's Warner Brothers' plan with this whole Conjuring universe to sort of create this easily digestible horror for mass audiences to enjoy. That way they can make a big buck off of it, because these movies don't take a whole lot of money to make. And for the most part, I do enjoy them. I didn't really like the first Annabelle movie, and I didn't really care for The Nun. But Annabelle Creation and Annabelle Comes Home, pretty good. Like I said, they're not all that scary, they're just more creepy. But the Conjuring movies, I think they are good films, especially for the budget they had to make the two movies. So you got Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga back in it again, which is good. I like both of them. It's kind of cool that James Wan and Patrick Wilson kind of had this buddy relationship, because he did Aquaman and Patrick Wilson was the villain in that. He was also in Insidious, which James Wan movie. And James Wan wrote it this time. He didn't direct it. He directed the first two, but he didn't direct this one. And I like it sometimes on the third installment where they include a new director, kind of like the Iron Man trilogy. Jon Favreau doing the first two, and then Shane Black doing the third one. But having a new director in this movie, I think, works towards its advantage. One of my biggest complaints about the second movie is it just felt a little too much like the first movie. The lighting was too similar. Yeah, they were overseas instead of being in America, but the tone, the feeling of it was very similar, and I feel like by the end of part two, it was kind of losing my interest a little. But this one does take a different route. It has a different feel and tone to it because of a different director. Because of that, I really enjoyed it. It's got the best opening out of all three of the films so far, which is this awesome exorcism scene. Honestly, one of the better exorcism scenes I've seen in a film. Whether you believe in that type of stuff or not, it's still creepy and cool to watch on screen if it's done well. This one, like the first two films, it's based on true events involving Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I think is pretty cool that this sort of universe is developed around these two characters and you're like rooting for them the whole time. They sort of feel like superheroes when you see them on screen. For me, the fact that they're all based on real events makes it a lot more fun to enjoy, because there's all sort of reading and research you can do that's online, all this information you can find out about these characters that are in the films, and you can sort of have this interactive experience in the films, if that makes any sense. I don't know, I find it enjoyable to do that, and that makes the movies a little more fun to me. And everything I've seen about these movies, they seem to be more of an accurate depiction than we've seen in other horror films of true events. Another thing I like about this movie is that it doesn't just take place in a house. The first one, it was all in a house. The second one, it was all in a house. It takes place out in this country area, and they're trying to figure out all this stuff that's going on. And I'm a sucker for movies that take place in the country, summer camps, anything on the water, the ocean, stuff like that. Is it better than the other two? I mean, it's pretty much the same thing, except it does feel a little different. And for that, I think I do like it a little better because it just feels new and fresh, the new director. But it doesn't feel like a different universe at all. It doesn't feel like they just changed writers and all that stuff. Like I said, James Wan's still writing it, but it does use the same old formula. Like there's an item in this one that they're trying to connect the dots with, just like the mirror in the first one or the Crooked Man toy in the second one. And they do the side character connections just like they did with Annabelle in the first one and The Nun in part two. It's the same old bag of tricks, but it's good. I didn't feel exhausted while I was watching this movie. I enjoyed it the whole way through. Acting's really well done, the directing's really well done, story's actually intriguing. Follows the true story of Arnie Johnson, who was present during his girlfriend's little brother's exorcism. Well, they thought it was an exorcism, but it just transfers from the kid to Arnie. Just like you see in the trailer, he's found by the cops with blood all over him, and he gets arrested for killing somebody. And it's not just supernatural and demon stuff. While that is it, there's also more of a human element in it because they bring in the occult. To me, that's always scarier when it's a human element involved, because the supernatural and stuff, I mean, I haven't seen that with my own eyes. And you hear about sadistic killers and stuff all day long. Not saying that stuff doesn't exist. I'm just saying, when there's human factors behind it, I find it a little scarier. There's a line in this movie that you see in the trailer where Patrick Wilson's basically just saying,
"The court accepts the existence of God every time a witness swears to tell the truth. I think it's about time they accept the existence of the devil."
I think that line's awesome. And honestly, I can't believe I haven't heard anybody say that before in a movie. Overall, I was actually impressed by how interesting the plot was, how new and refreshing it felt. Didn't feel like just a rehash of part 1 and 2. We actually get a full-on kill scene in this movie, which we didn't get in the other movies. People almost got killed, but nobody actually died on screen. This one we get a nice kill scene. Yeah, there were some of the classic horror movie tropes, or just movie tropes in this one a little bit. Some jump scares, things creeping down the hall, all that stuff. But it really wasn't filled with that. Felt like it was a really good third installment. In fact, one of the better third installments I've seen. I rate it just like the other two, a B. Well, that'll do it for this episode, guys. Thanks for tuning in again. Hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Look for BrassReel Brothers on Facebook. Look for Bobby Williams on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter, BrassReel Bobby at BrassReel. And if you haven't done so already, hit that subscribe button so you can help us make it to the top. And as always, if life gives you lemons, make some hot, fresh popcorns.
Lorraine! Lorraine!
Ed!
You all right?